Johan Cruyff, a name on everybody's lips when we ask the question, who are the greatest players ever? But do we know the total story? From his beginnings and rapid development at Ajax to his huge footballing and political impact at Barcelona. From his numerous achievements on the European and global stage to his successful business decisions outside the sport. This is the story of Cruyff and how he elevated what was expected of a footballer. In East Amsterdam and only 5 minutes away from Ajax's stadium, a young Johan Cruyff spent long hours playing in the streets. His father's friend Henk Angel had a job as a groundsman at Ajax, as the club slowly became a second home for Cruyff. Johan officially joined Ajax's youth team in the year 1957 at only 10 years old. He was training under coach Van der Veen in his early years, whom trained him not only in football but in norms and life values. As Cruyff said in his autobiography, the Ajax life was one that compensated for the education that I wouldn't be getting at school. Those early years were crucial for Cruyff, especially as his father passed away within that period while Johan was only 12 years old. Ajax graciously offered a job to his mother to keep the family secured financially. Ajax was just like his second family. But Johan lacked discipline in those days as he smoked cigarettes and argued with referees and teammates. The team used to discipline him through numerous fines, but despite that, there was no doubt about his talent, as he became only the second player in the club's history to get a full-time professional contract. He was given his first team debut at 17 years of age under the manager Vic Buckingham, and managed to score his first goal as a pro against PSV. Ajax were struggling in the 64-65 season as the English manager Buckingham left the club in January of 65, which handed the opportunity to ex-player Rinus Michels to take over managerial duties. He was a young manager but had authority in abundance. With a couple of injured players coming back, Cruyff didn't play much with the first team for the rest of the campaign, as Ajax ended that season in 13th position. Cruyff played 10 matches that year and scored 4 goals. But that didn't stop him from refusing a contract renewal from the board, as he asked for a better offer, which was rare in those days. He threatened to leave until the board offered an improved contract. Cruyff later said, "No matter how wonderful you find football when you're young, you'd better be very businesslike at the same time, otherwise you're finished in this game." Cruyff's footballing life was changed when Michels arrived, as the manager tried to protect the players from the board and used his authoritarian tactics to discipline the team. Several new fines and rules were introduced to the club, and of course, Cruyff was the culprit of most of these fines. Johan was only 18 years old when Michels arrived to the club. That's why he decided to rotate him between the first and second team to gain footballing experience and build his weak and young body. When he was given the chance with the first team because of some injuries within the squad, Cruyff showed some great passages of play, as he did against DWS when he scored an impressive brace. The media started to take notice, but Michels wanted to introduce his early vision of total football, which was still taking shape. Each and every player on the team had to follow specific instructions in order to implement this vision. And the only player who didn't follow those instructions at the beginning was Cruyff. After all that praise from the media, he built up a huge ego and often argued with his teammates on tactical discussions. Whenever Johan was absent from the first team, it showed on the pitch, as Ajax were slow, stiff, and without any invention. When Cruyff played, they transformed into a fast and attacking team. So in March of 1966, Cruyff was named a permanent starter for the team. His discipline was improved as results improved as well. Ajax eventually won the league with a record-breaking number of points. Cruyff played 23 matches in all competitions that year and managed to score an astonishing 25 goals. Everything was looking good for Johan. He earned his national team debut at 19 years of age when he played against Hungary in a European qualifier, and started the new season with Ajax as an integral and important first-team player. But in 1966, Holland were in the middle of major riots from the youth population, which had the goal of introducing chaos in society and challenging the system. Cruyff was considered an instigator of these movements in his second international match against the Czechs, as Johan was involved in heated arguments with the ref after he was kicked several times. After a few arguments, the ref showed Cruyff a red card. He was the first Dutch international player to be sent off in history. The incident was much debated in Holland, as Cruyff was accused of hitting the ref and was banned from international football for a whole year. But that event didn't halt Cruyff and Ajax's scintillating form, as they won 12 out of their first 14 matches in the league. After passing the test of Besiktas in the first round of the European Cup, Liverpool were awaiting them. The Reds just started their road to success under manager Bill Shankly. That's why Ajax were hoping to at least avoid defeat. But under the foggy weather at the Olympic Stadium, everything clicked for Ajax.
Zwart nog steeds. Kans. Oh! Nuninga en een doelpunt.
Amazingly, Ajax managed to score 4 goals without reply in the first half and won the match 5-1 in the end. It was the biggest defeat of any English club in European history. Michels said after the match, "This victory is the first evidence that our team is a force to be reckoned with at the international level." A 2-2 draw at Anfield secured Ajax's place in the quarterfinals. Around 5 million Dutch people watched the match on TV as Cruyff was becoming a national figure. That fame opened up many commercial opportunities for him as he signed with Puma and was invited to the openings of several shops and businesses around the country. But Johan did show signs of struggle in his quarter-final matchup against Dukla Prague, as Ajax were eliminated after the 2 matches. In the league, Cruyff and Ajax were dominating matches left and right as they won their second league title in a row while scoring 122 goals in only 34 matches, which is still an unbroken national record today. Johan Cruyff was the engineer behind this domination, as he managed to score an astonishing 41 goals in 41 matches in total, 33 of them coming in the league. His image in the media was improved as well, as the Dutch Football Association decided to waive his suspension as Cruyff was back in the national team in September of '67. Young Johan started having arguments with his teammates about tactics. He used to discuss the tactics to be used by the team in some interviews as if he was the manager. That resulted in clashes with the real manager Rinus Michels. But despite that, the manager didn't stop taking Cruyff aside and talking tactics, because he knew that Johan would assist his teammates with tactical instructions during the match. A good example of that was an important league match against Feyenoord. Michels could barely see anything from the bench because of the foggy weather that day. Cruyff managed to change the tactical shape during the match as Ajax dominated after initially struggling. The match was abandoned at a 1-1 draw, but Cruyff showed his knowledge of the game that day. That event caused some issues with Michels, as he banned Cruyff from a couple of matches in the league. But with time, Michels knew he couldn't build what he wanted without Cruyff, so Johan quickly came back to assist the team. Unfortunately for Ajax, they were drawn with Real Madrid in the first round of the European Cup. After a 1-1 draw at home thanks to Cruyff's goal, Ajax went to the Bernabeu to seal the deal. Everybody in Spain was surprised by this unknown Dutch side as Ajax dominated proceedings. But Cruyff missed some clear-cut chances to finish the tie, as Madrid managed to score a late goal in extra time, and for the first time in his career, Johan faced huge criticism from the media. He was back to his best in the Eredivisie, as Ajax Amsterdam won their 3rd league title in a row. Cruyff was the top goal scorer of the team, after scoring 25 goals in 33 matches in the league, and was named Dutch Player of the Year. Cruyff struggled with injuries in the summer of '68, but that didn't stop him from his commercial endeavors. He was exceeding what was expected of a footballer in those days. Michels asked Johan to focus only on football and believed that his commercial endeavors will affect his relationship with his teammates. All media outlets were talking about Ajax's crucial encounter against West German champions Nuremberg in the first round of the European Cup. It was a crucial match for Cruyff's career as well. He needed to prove that he's up for the European game, especially after the Madrid match. Despite the dominance of the West Germans, Ajax managed to get out of Germany with a 1-1 draw, and despite his injury, Cruyff scored the equalizer and played a great match. As Michels said following the first leg, Johan proved that he is willing and able to sacrifice for the whole team. At the Olympic Stadium, Ajax delivered an almost perfect match as they blew the West Germans away by 4-0. Cruyff was marked by 2 players the whole match, which opened up tons of spaces for his teammates. His manager said after the match, "With Johan, we're going ahead at full power. The team can hardly do without him, but he only truly flourishes because of the team." Johan changed that season, whether by Michels' methods or by Cruyff approaching marriage and being more mature in general. He didn't show his usual signs of rebelliousness and played for the team. The focus shifted to the European Cup after Ajax tripped up in the league. They passed Turkish side Fenerbahce in the second round and faced last year's finalist Benfica in the quarterfinals. Under the snow, Eusebio's men won the first leg at Ajax's backyard. Cruyff missed easy chances again and faced renewed criticism. However, this time he redeemed himself in the second leg as Ajax won in Lisbon by the same result. As Michels said, "This is the best showing by Ajax since I arrived at the club." Cruyff's brilliance was on show again in the tiebreaker in Paris, as Ajax won after extra time by 3-0. There was no doubt that Cruyff was better than Eusebio that day, and was now the main star of this exciting Ajax team. Injuries curtailed Cruyff's ascendance in the semi-finals against Spartak Trnava. He was not impacting the match, but Ajax managed to surpass this tough test and qualify to their first European final, the first time any Dutch team achieved that feat. They faced AC Milan in the Santiago Bernabeu. The Rossoneri were led by their talisman Gianni Rivera. The Italian outshined Cruyff in that final, as Milan scored early and took over the match, winning the final by 4-1. As the match was effectively over, Cruyff wanted to show his talent on the pitch, as Michels said after the match that Cruyff cared too little about his defensive role in midfield. Some newspapers were less diplomatic. Cruyff gave the impression of playing more for the many scouts in the stands than for his own team. Cruyff said after the match that Ajax were too nice and were still not cunning enough. They had to change something. After Ajax failed to qualify to the European Cup, Michels decided to build a new team. Players like Nuninga, Benny Müller, and Ton Bronk all left, and then came the striker Dick van Dijk as a poacher to support Cruyff in the attack. Within that period, Johan Cruyff thought his salary didn't match what he demonstrated on the field, and the man who convinced him of that was his father-in-law and new agent Cor Koster. Koster advised him to ask for an improved contract and told him that George Best and Franz Beckenbauer had superior salaries. So Cruyff did what no Dutch player had ever done in those days and went to the board to negotiate with his agent alongside him. In that period, the board members negotiate exclusively with the player, and agent interferences in negotiations were a new thing. In the end, Cruyff got what he wanted and was the first to include an agent in contract negotiations. Although Ajax were playing well, high tensions were sparking between the manager and his players. It began when Ajax crashed out of the Fairs Cup semi-final against Arsenal. Michels criticized the players, stating that they were frightened little fawns. A crucial title-deciding match against Feyenoord ended in a 3-3 draw, as Michels was furious again. He was not shocked when he saw Feyenoord lift the European Cup that season. He was fully convinced that they were better mentally than his Ajax team, whom were concerned only about their finances. Those players have had enough when Ajax won their last match of the season and lifted their 4th league title in 5 years, as they locked themselves in their dressing room and refused to allow anybody from the staff to enter. It was a full-on protest against Michels and his dictatorial behavior. Ajax looked far from a team that will win a European Cup. Cruyff didn't start the new season because of injury, as Ajax struggled on the field with the absence of their main star. Jerry Muren was the man that replaced him. He used to wear Cruyff's number 9 shirt. Johan didn't care about the number on the back of his shirt, as he wore the number 9, 8, and even 10 in those days. That's why when he came back against PSV, he asked Muren to keep his number 9 shirt, and went to pick up a shirt with the number 14 lying on the floor of the dressing room. Cruyff came back from injury without complications, and he quickly was back to his best as he played an unorthodox assist in a European Cup second round match. Everything was back to normal when Cruyff was back. Ajax were winning match after match as they climbed all the way from the 6th position to the top of the league. If there was one match in which everything seemed to fall into place and reflect the brilliance of this Ajax team, it could be the European Cup quarter-finals against Celtic. The Scottish side were winners of this competition back in '67 and finalists in the previous year in 1970. They were not an ordinary team, but what Ajax has shown was to be the blueprint of what is labeled total football. Michels was using a 4-2-4 formation with a striker in the league, but the manager changed to a 4-3-3 in European matches. Cruyff would be the central figure in attack without another central striker like Van Dijk. The philosophy behind this formation is very different from the philosophy that Guardiola had used at Barcelona, for example. Michels' idea was the interchangeability between positions on the field for the purpose of pressing the opponent and winning back possession to control specific spaces. If a player presses an opponent and leaves his marker, another teammate covers his player, and the player he leaves would be covered by another teammate, and etc. This interchangeability is not random, as it is drilled in numerous training sessions in order to not lose their shape on the pitch, and when they win back possession, they don't pass the ball backwards and sideways, but rather try to create goal-scoring chances. That's why they're not afraid to play long balls to the wings, as winger Svart said, "In 4 passes, we would be in front of goal." Cruyff was the key to this system, as he was the central figure whom orchestrated many of the attacking moves in the final third, and ended each season in that period with an average of 25 assists per season. What's different at that season was that he had a very tough midfield trio that worked hard for him, and a young Johan Cruyff, Muren, and Reinders. All of that was showcased against Celtic as Ajax won the first leg in a dominating 3-0. Michels was delighted and said, "With this Ajax, I have found what I was looking for. It's been a long road, but we have arrived." Ajax progressed to the semi-finals of the competition, and despite everything going well, there were some internal issues lingering. In April of '71, Ajax were about to face Atletico Madrid in the semi-finals. Johan's contract was due to expire in a few months, and as Spain were thinking of opening their borders to professional foreign players, rumors started to circulate about Cruyff's potential departure to Barcelona. But from where did these rumors come from? In the summer of 1970, both Cruyff and his wife Dani visited Barcelona for a day and were given a personal tour by the legendary photographer Horacio Segui. This tour included a special invite to the Camp Nou, where Johan was given a Barcelona shirt to wear and also met Carlos Rexach and even posed for a fake contract signing. A memorable day for Cruyff, and these pictures sparked those rumors after a year of being captured. In the first leg at Atletico Stadium, Michels' defensive approach in Madrid made Cruyff seem ineffective the whole match. As Atletico scored the opener, Michels decided to sub Cruyff with 15 minutes left in the match. Johan was never subbed in a match since his debut in '64. Was it to show authority in front of the Spanish press, or was it to make Cruyff lose face in front of the Spanish fans? Michels' contract was also due to expire that same summer. Ajax chairman Van Praag managed to end all speculation, as he stated that no transfer discussions will be made until the transfer period starts in the summer. As Ajax focused back on football, they handsomely won 3-0 in the second leg against Atletico, as they secured their second European final in the last 3 years. However, a loss against Feyenoord effectively ended their league title run. The European final was now even more crucial. Their Greek opponents Panathinaikos were awaiting them. They were not one of the best in Europe. Ajax were favourites to finally win the European Cup at Wembley. The Dutch side opened the scoring in the first 5 minutes, and the final turned out to be an ugly one. But Michels was satisfied, as his team were finally capable of playing an ugly match and win. Cruyff handed a nice assist to score the second, and to help Ajax lift their first European title in history. Panathinaikos coach and ex-legend Puskás had much praise for Johan, as he said, "Cruyff is 50% of the team. Give him to us and we'll win." As the Spanish borders were still closed for foreign players, Cruyff managed to extend his contract with Ajax for 7 extra years. However, the team had to say goodbye to the manager Rinus Michels, as he said, "So much had broken down in the personal relationship with Ajax that I couldn't stay any longer." Despite his complicated relationship with Cruyff, Johan still gave a great recommendation to the Barcelona board when he was asked about Michels, as the Dutch manager successfully signed with the Catalan club. The Romanian Stevan Kovac took over managerial duties, an intelligent but very lenient man. Training sessions became easier, and most of the fines and rules implemented by Michels were thrown out the window. Kovac used similar tactics to the previous manager and rotated less. The first team had high levels of understanding. All the principles of total football were drilled down by Michels, but with the added freedom of the new manager and a new leadership role by Cruyff on the pitch, whom gave constant instructions throughout matches, Ajax were a dominating team, both in league action and in the European Cup.
Daar is Cruyff! Scoort! Daar gaat die bal. Haan, schot Haan.
Ajax successfully passed the test of East German champions Dynamo Dresden in the first round, and then passed French champions Marseille in the second round of the European Cup. Cruyff's brilliance within 1971 handed him the Ballon d'Or, which was exclusive to European players. Cruyff was celebrated in his next match in the league against Den Haag and scored one of his most iconic goals ever. Given that the pitch was very poor, Cruyff had to be inventive.
Schitterend Johan Cruyff, wat een fabuleus doelpunt.
Ajax continued winning in the league and took revenge against Arsenal in the quarter-finals of the European Cup. Ajax's display that day proved that Dutch football was years ahead of English football at that time.
Put it in the net, and 2-1 to Ajax.
Ajax won their 15th league title in the Eredivisie after dominating their rivals Feyenoord by 5-1. They also won the Dutch Cup final against Den Haag and booked a place in the European final after passing the difficult test of Benfica in the semi-finals. In order to seal the treble, Ajax had to pass the Italian test of Internazionale in the European final, the Dutch total football against the Italian Catenaccio. Despite the rigid man marking, Cruyff managed to score a brace.
For Ajax and Inter, and it can't happen very often.
As Ajax successfully lifted their second European Cup in a row. During the season, Cruyff ended up scoring a league-best 25 goals and added 20 assists to his tally as well. In the following season, both Cruyff and Ajax continued in writing history after winning the Intercontinental Cup against Argentinian side Independiente. Within only 4 months, they lifted the league title, the Dutch Cup, the European Cup, and the Intercontinental Cup. But behind the scenes, all was not right. Cruyff's individualism, his numerous paychecks, and his advertising endeavors throughout the year had built up a growing sense of jealousy within his teammates. As the team continued to succeed, Cruyff's stature and reputation in the eyes of the public had risen as well, all while his teammates were in the shadows. The idea of creating a documentary that season sparked those feelings, as the movie displayed Ajax's successes and Cruyff as the main protagonist within it. As his teammate Han had said, all that eulogizing of Johan started to irritate us. Following that intercontinental success, leadership fell apart. Players started to confront each other less and less, and when Cruyff became captain after Kaiser no longer wanted the responsibility, the annoyance increased. Kovac, the manager, lacked the authority to fix these issues, and despite Cruyff's absence because of injury in a few matches, Ajax astonishingly never really stopped winning. With Cruyff back, they've beaten CSKA Sofia in the second round by 6 goals and dominated against Bayern München by 4 goals in the first leg of the quarter-finals. Cruyff was injured before the second leg, but despite that, he was still advised to join his teammates for moral support as they fly to Munich. Johan refused, and after that incident, some of the board, the doctors, and the players had turned against him. Ajax were beaten 2-1 but secured a semi-final berth against Real Madrid. The players eventually asked for a meeting and reaffirmed their confidence in Cruyff as they focused on the rest of the season. Ajax started to win efficiently that season and with a 1-0 scoreline. That same result was repeated in the second leg at the Santiago Bernabeu as they booked their place in their 4th European final in the last 5 years. This efficient approach was reflected in the league as Ajax won the league title yet again while boasting a fantastic defensive record, conceding 18 goals in 34 matches. They faced Juventus in the European final and implemented that efficient approach again as Ajax scored early and defended in what was left of that boring final. Ajax were European champions for the 3rd time in a row.
Ajax have won the European Cup for the 3rd successive time.
After a long and eventful season, Most Ajax players believed that this team and structure will not last long. As Ajax player Barry Holshoff had said, deep down in our minds, we knew it was over. In the summer of 1973, the Spanish borders finally opened for foreign players, but Cruyff still had 5 years on his existing contract. As the new coach George Noble arrived, Cruyff continued his pre-season preparations as if everything was normal. But around July, ex-captain Pete Kaiser had put himself forward for the captaincy again. Cruyff was surprised, and a vote by the players was taken. Kaiser won with 8 votes against 7 as Johan froze in his place. Cruyff immediately picked up the phone and told his agent Koster to call Barcelona. The Catalan club had to make a big offer to lure the Dutchman, but Cruyff wanted to leave and strongly pressured the board. Both parties agreed in August as Cruyff transferred to Barcelona for €1 million, a record-breaking sum at that time. But there was one problem. The Dutch transfer window was effectively closed in August, so the Dutch Football Association prevented a transfer to Barcelona initially. Cruyff did what he does best, play football and issue qualify for the upcoming 1974 World Cup. Cruyff finally managed to transfer to Barcelona, but couldn't play in any official match for the Catalan club until December, thanks to a request by the Dutch Federation. He played in friendlies until October, and after some new threats from Cruyff, the Dutch Football Association surrendered, as Johan finally managed to officially terminate his contract with Ajax and was now ready to officially play for Barcelona. At that point, Barcelona were under the guidance of ex-Ajax manager Rinus Michels, and before Cruyff's debut, they were sitting way down in 14th position in La Liga. It was the perfect way to reflect Cruyff's influence on the team, as Barcelona scored big against Granada, Gijón and Malaga. The Catalan club successfully claimed the top spot in December. Cruyff also managed to help the national team in earning a goalless and tough draw in a World Cup qualifier against Belgium and secure their place in the World Cup for the first time since 1938. All those accomplishments throughout the year earned Cruyff the Ballon d'Or for the second time to match Di Stefano's record. Barcelona player Carlos Rexach mentioned how the Spanish Football Association always seemed to help Real Madrid, showpiece of the dictator Franco regime, in winning the league. He was adamant that numerous penalties were called on Barcelona throughout that season. The Catalan team had not won the league since 1960, but that season was different. One match that showed the brilliance of Cruyff was against Atletico Madrid, when Johan scored what is known in Catalonia as the impossible goal. Michels had been working with the team for a couple of seasons, and they were a good side. But with Cruyff's arrival, it all clicked tactically, and Barcelona were immediately better. The amount of love Cruyff got from the fans, not only in Catalonia, but also in other regions of Spain, was astonishing. And when Cruyff decided to name his son Jordi, the same name of one of the historic figures in Catalonia, the appreciation was huge. It was interpreted as a gesture of solidarity for the suppressed people of Catalonia. But Cruyff was not aware of the full significance of the name, and clearly stated in 1974 that he didn't want to get involved in politics. In all cases, he was hailed as their savior, and in a match against Madrid at the Santiago Bernabeu, Cruyff and his teammates wrote history as they won by 5-0. By March, Barcelona were on top of the league and had a 9-point lead. With 5 matches at hand, Barcelona became La Liga champions after their fans waited for 14 long years. For years and years, the Dutch national team were run poorly. Cruyff had so little faith in the Football Association. In preparation for the World Cup, the KNVB brought Rinus Michels as a part-time manager to try to solve this issue. In the 1974 World Cup, everybody saw Cruyff at his best. The Dutch national team played with a more riskier version of the total football deployed at Ajax, and that tactic worked beautifully, as they won their group in the first round, then routed the Argentinians in the second round by 4 goals. The East Germans by 2 goals,
llega el segundo tanto del partido.
and the World Cup holders Brazil by 2 goals again. Cruyff scored 3 goals and assisted a further 6 within those matches. He was the conductor of the team. The Brazilian defender Luis Pereira said after his match against the Dutch national team, "The Dutch are the most complete team I've ever encountered, who has taught the players that everyone can do everything." The newspapers in Brazil wrote after the match, "We didn't know much about Cruyff, but now we'll never forget him." The West Germans were waiting for them in the final. The Dutch national team had already far exceeded their objectives for this tournament. One game was left to achieve the most prestigious prize in football.
That's the prize. That's the trophy. That's up for grabs.
Johan Cruyff.
Johan Cruyff fires the ball home.
Suddenly, the Dutch stopped pressing effectively in the first half as the Germans managed to come back and score 2 goals before halftime.
Oh! Gerd Müller!
The Dutch played better in the second half, but it was not enough.
West Germany are world champions.
Despite the loss, Cruyff remembers that tournament fondly. As he said, "Although I'd been part of many trophy-winning club sides, it was only after that World Cup that I achieved true stardom." Barcelona reinforced their team with the Dutchman Johan Cruyff, or Johan Segundo as they called him in Spain. The expectations were high for the new season, and Cruyff's relationship with his manager was better than ever. But what happened on the pitch was far from good. Because of the law in La Liga, which limited clubs from having only 2 foreign players at the same time on the pitch, the Peruvian Hugo Sotil found himself on the bench more often than not, which meant that Barcelona lacked speed, and Michels had a say in their poor form as well. As Rexach said, Michels tinkered too much with the composition of the team, which came at the expense of cohesion. Home games at the Camp Nou were dramatic and positive in terms of results, but away games were another story. Opposition defenders were aggressive against Cruyff, which pushed the Dutchman to the middle to receive the ball. He was targeted by the opposition, and the refs allowed that to happen. Despite these issues, Cruyff played an amazing match against Dutch side Feyenoord in the second round of the European Cup. Johan managed to assist 3 goals, all for Rexach. He managed to assist 2 goals with his left foot.
Und Tor! Tor! 1:0 für und frei in der Rechtschaft und Tor! Cruyff, Rechtschaft!
And the third with the outside of his right foot.
Wieder Cruyff. Wieder eine herrliche Flanke. Rechtschaft und Tor! 2:0, ein großartiges Tor.
His overall performances throughout 1974 had earned him the Ballon d'Or for the 3rd time, which was a record in those days. But Cruyff faced a lot of negative press from the Madrid-based newspapers throughout the year, especially after Barca's loss in the Santiago Bernabeu. And Cruyff always gave an earful to the refs, and in a match against Malaga, Cruyff was protesting after an illegal goal was allowed. And Cruyff didn't stop protesting until he was sent off. The first sending off in an official match in Spain since red cards were introduced in 1970. Barcelona's gap extended to 15 points from the leaders Real Madrid, and they were out of Europe from the semi-finals after a defeat against Leeds. Barcelona ended the season with 37 points, their worst tally since 1970. Michels was asked to leave as his relationship with the club's leadership turned sour. Fans and journalists were also annoyed about the amount of Dutch influence within the team. It was time for a change. In came the German coach Rinus Michels to take over managerial duties. He was an obsessive manager who had succeeded in lifting the UEFA Cup with Borussia Mönchengladbach. Cruyff immediately tried to put the coach in his place and said, "You determine the tactics beforehand, and I determine the tactics on the pitch." The German was baffled. However, that is what happened on the field. Disagreements in the middle of some matches ended with an explosion during an away game against Sevilla in February of 1976. The German told Cruyff to stay up front, whilst Johan preferred to save his legs in midfield. When the match started, Cruyff asked Rexach to switch positions, as Barcelona struggled to create chances, and after Cruyff carelessly lost the ball, which helped Sevilla extend their lead to 2 goals, Cruyff was immediately subbed. The matter was discussed with the board, but no progress was made, and the problem was unsolved. Cruyff knew he had influence with the 70,000 Barcelona socios, so he played brilliantly to end the season and helped Barcelona win against league leaders Atletico Madrid in an away match. The German manager didn't stand a chance in gaining the support of the fans, especially as Barcelona were eliminated by Liverpool in the semi-finals of the UEFA Cup. The board told the German manager to pack his bags, as he said, "With this Cruyff, Barcelona will never win the championship. He plays only for himself." In the Euro Championships of 1976, Cruyff faced some difficulties. With the arrival of manager George Nobel, Cruyff was basically in charge of the selections, as he forced both the best Dutch keeper in the country, Jan van Beveren, and Willy van der Kuylen out of the national team. The Netherlands were the favorites for the competition, and as the tournament progressed, the Dutch managed to get to the semi-final stage to face Czechoslovakia. Everybody assumed that they would face West Germany for a World Cup rematch in the final, but not all was right for the Dutch in the match against the Czechs. The Dutch players played a very poor match under the heavy rains. Frustration was mounting as 3 red cards were shown, 2 for the Dutch
Voor Willem van Hanegem.
and a single red card for the Czechs.
Voor middenvelder Polak. Hij was al eerder rood.
Cruyff was frustrated with the amount of tackles and kept complaining to the ref. It was a poor showing that ended with a 3-1 defeat against Czechoslovakia. Nobody ever saw Cruyff like this. He looked much older and stiffer, something which was new for him. Despite the Euro fiasco, Cruyff still held huge influence at Barcelona, as he got rid of the German Wieswiller and helped bring back Michels. He once again threatened to not extend his contract unless Michels was brought back. Michels said in an interview, "You might say that Barcelona wouldn't have taken me on if Cruyff hadn't been playing there." During the first half of the season, Barcelona were on top of the league, but for Cruyff, it was not going smoothly. He was banned in December because of yellow card accumulation. Then he got another yellow in January after criticizing a ref. In a match full of frustration against Malaga in the Camp Nou, the referee decided to allow a goal, which was clearly a handball. Cruyff protested furiously and was given a yellow card. Then he allegedly spouted mean words to the ref, which had earned him his second sending off. Cruyff believed that the ref, whom was from Madrid, was aiming to make Barcelona lose the match, and during his departure, the fans were protesting vigorously, and in that moment, Cruyff became the martyr of Catalonia. Eventually, he got a 3-match suspension, and Cruyff thought that there was a smear campaign against him and said, "I'm not fighting just for myself, but for all Catalans." Barcelona gained a single point from the 3 matches. They lost the top spot and ended the season without a title again. But for his heroics, Cruyff was branded by some newspapers as the greatest personality in Catalonia. When Cruyff began his footballing career, he always talked about retiring around his early 30s. Now entering 30 years of age, that statement looked to be true. He suffered serious damage to his calf in the summer and missed the early league matches. Barcelona without him were struggling to score goals. Around that time, Cruyff and his family were threatened by a rifle from an intruder who was attempting a kidnap at his home. By this time, Johan began to seriously look forward to the end of his career. When he came back from injury, he helped the Dutch national team qualify to the 1978 World Cup, but shockingly decided to not partake in the tournament. The debate on the reasons he didn't partake in the tournament will continue for years to come. Some said that his wife Dani persuaded him to not go, while others attribute the failed kidnap which affected his decision. In all cases, his decision was final. As Cruyff eventually said, "To play a World Cup, you have to be 200% ready. There are moments when there are other values in life." He came back concentrating on Barcelona as he led the team to big victories in the league and in European competitions as they passed both English sides Ipswich and Villa.
And he scored one on his own. That's the glory of this man.
Around April, Johan was back to protesting to the refs and got his 4th yellow card and was suspended for his next crucial match against Madrid. Without Cruyff, Barcelona lost 4-0 and the championship was effectively over. Cruyff was struggling with the same injury in his calf throughout the season, When he had space, he played great football. However, when he was man-marked, it was tough for him in this stage of his career to move clear of his markers and influence the game. That was evident when Barcelona lost against PSV in the semi-finals of the UEFA Cup, no La Liga again, and no European Cup. They did win the Copa del Rey in his last season, before Cruyff left the Catalan club. Despite little success on the field, Cruyff still regards his 5 Catalan seasons as the best years of his life, not only for the footballing aspects, but for the life aspects as well. Before he left, Cruyff delivered an odd choice in the eyes of the Catalans. He advised the members to vote for Josep Luis Nunez. His counterpart Ferran Arinho, a progressive figure who was supported by the Catalan Nationalist Party, was a more obvious choice for Cruyff. However, Nunez won the elections after he announced to the members that he could convince Cruyff to stay at the club. Of course, it was all a play to get him the presidency. It's true that eventually Nunez helped Barcelona grow bigger and better, but with time, his supporter Johan Cruyff will turn into one of his many enemies.
Het veld van het Olympisch Stadion. 3-maal was hij de beste voetballer van Europa.
A farewell match was organized to celebrate Cruyff's footballing career. Bayern München were invited to face Ajax. The honorary match proved to be embarrassing, as Bayern won 8-0, as the Germans took it very seriously. It was the biggest defeat in Cruyff's career. After his footballing career, he plunged himself into several business activities within Spain. But after some time, Johan was scammed in one of these projects, as he discovered several forged papers and was left with a huge debt. He was forced to get back to football to earn some money. Thus appeared the chance to play in the United States for the Los Angeles Aztecs. And who was the manager awaiting him there? None other than Rinus Michels. The North American Soccer League used to attract professionals from Europe and South America's second and third divisions. Some legendary players like Gerd Müller and Franz Beckenbauer came for the money and left. But Cruyff took it on his own to learn more about the culture and embrace it. He even tried to support American football in building a good infrastructure for kids in order to elevate the football levels in the country. Cruyff played a single season in Los Angeles, then another season in Washington, then came back to Holland for a new challenge. In November of 1980, he was made a technical advisor to the young coach Leo Ben Hacker at Ajax. Cruyff wasn't qualified as a trainer, but that didn't stop him from giving pointers. Immediately in the next match, Ajax were being outplayed by Twente at home. Cruyff got up from the stands and made his way down to Ajax's bench. He began shouting and pointing, and suddenly the match turned as Ajax came back from behind and won the match. Did Cruyff really impact the match? Ajax players disagree. As Dick Schoeneker said, "I don't believe anything changed when Johan came and sat. No one paid any attention to him." Cruyff is a legendary figure, and stories like these only supplement that fact, but sometimes they're not entirely true. But we as fans may exaggerate the impact to further our beliefs of some historical characters. That's what the newspapers wrote the very next day. But in reality, and as the Ajax players had said, Cruyff's influence that season was not clear, as Ajax continued struggling and failed to claim the title. In February of 1981, Cruyff left Ajax to earn some money playing again. Surprisingly, Cruyff went to play for Levante in the Segunda Division. He was suffering from minor injuries as the signing didn't work at all, as he went back to America again, and then decided to finally settle in Holland on September of 1981. Cruyff started joining Ajax's training sessions as it was a natural thing to do. Weeks went by and he felt fit and healthy. He made clear his intentions of playing for the first team. Months of complex discussions ensued within the club, as Ajax were not eager to pay a salary for a 34-year-old footballer who could be injured in any second. That age was different in those days. Without the huge strides in training and nutritional science in the last few decades, most players at that time used to retire in their early 30s. But Ajax were struggling in the league. The atmosphere in the dressing room was not optimal. They needed a leader. Eventually an agreement was made. Cruyff would be paid a basic salary plus part of the proceeds from the extra tickets that might be sold from his presence alone. In the previous seasons at that time, no more than 8,000 people attended the matches. Cruyff was confident he would attract more. So finally, and on the 6th of December 1981, Cruyff made his second debut for his boyhood club. 23,000 fans attended that match against Haarlem, and after 20 minutes, Cruyff showed his class once again. Ajax won by 4 goals to 1, as this match set the tone for the season, as Ajax went undefeated all the way to the end and won 17 out of 19 league matches. We saw a new version of Cruyff, a slower version of course, but he was considered a complete playmaker in the team and had excellent vision on the pitch. He managed to score a respectable 7 goals and assist a further 9 in 15 matches overall, as Ajax managed to lift the league title, the first league title for Cruyff since 1974. Cruyff's form convinced the club to extend his contract for another year, but injuries kept him out of matches until September of the new season. He also played in the European Cup again, as there was skepticism about him coping in the European game. And those thoughts were true, as Cruyff faced difficulties when facing Celtic in the first round, as Ajax lost after losing the second leg.
Quite amazing game.
As Cruyff's appearances became less regular in the league, attendances started to drop. Results were not affected that much, and the board were pleased with that, as that made Johan's leverage within the club even lower. They were not happy that Cruyff was interfering in everything at the club. However, despite Cruyff's injuries, when he did manage to play, he was still capable of the magnificent.
Doet het op deze manier. Olsen, Cruyff, goal.
Discussions about that penalty and about Cruyff's inventive mind are still made today. But within that time, the academy introduced several new talents, like Olsen, Vandenberg and Van Basten. Cruyff was suddenly less impactful, and the Ajax board felt that he was not worth his salary. By May of 1983, the league title was lifted by Ajax again. They also won the Dutch Cup, with Cruyff assisting 2 goals and scoring a screamer.
Cruyff.
But the board's intentions were clear. There is no place for Cruyff in the following season. Cruyff felt insulted, as he would have liked to end his career at the club, and said, "It's not my fault, I'm leaving Ajax." Cruyff didn't want to stop playing. He still felt fit and ready to play. But more importantly, he was still full of hard feelings towards Ajax. There was speculation about an unimaginable switch to rivals Feyenoord. It was a matter of pride for Cruyff. He wanted to prove that he could still deliver success. Thus, he accepted Feyenoord's deal and signed for the rivals in the summer of 1983. By that time, Feyenoord were greatly struggling. They hadn't won the league since 1974, and the team lacked the required talent to compete. Winning anything with this group will prove to be a difficult task for Cruyff. The transfer was very weird, as writer Andy Boleyn compared that transfer in his book to the idea of Salah moving to Manchester United. Some Feyenoord fans didn't even want to see him, as they returned their season tickets back to the club cut into pieces. But Cruyff immediately influenced the team, either within the training sessions or in the actual matches. Defender Henk Doet said nothing was unimportant to him. With him around, you could never slacken off. He was always critical and self-critical too. Despite the promising start, there was a clear lack of chemistry in the beginning, and all of that was reflected in their embarrassing defeat against Ajax in the Olympic Stadium by 8 goals to 2.
Alles winnen ze nu natuurlijk. Ja, ook zo'n goal nog. 8-2. Marco van Basten.
Cruyff's former team seemed vindicated by letting Johan leave. But despite that, Feyenoord kept on winning matches, while Cruyff started to dictate the tempo and play make from the back, which opened up tons of spaces for his teammates. Cruyff was basically an assistant coach to the first team coach, Lebretz. The focus of both Cruyff and the manager in that season was their defensive stability and their attacking efficiency, very different from total football and the high press. It worked, as Feyenoord kept winning matches, and the young Ajax team started losing points and make mistakes. With Cruyff, another star was born in the team, and that was Ruud Gullit, who was great and won the Dutch Footballer of the Year award. And without playing beautifully in most matches, Feyenoord were league leaders again, as Cruyff won back the support of the fans. They also laid revenge on Ajax as they threw them out of the KNVB Cup and also won 4-1 in the league. Cruyff's played all but one match in the league. Feyenoord instantly lost that match. And with Cruyff back in February, Feyenoord managed to win the historic league and cup double, one of Cruyff's greatest achievements ever.
En nu een jaar Feyenoord, afscheid van de voetbalvelden.
The Feyenoord board tried to extend his contract, but Cruyff knew that the season had taken a big toll on him physically. He was ready to finally retire. But that wasn't the end of Cruyff's relationship with the sport, but rather the end of a chapter, as a new chapter full of success begins.